So it's my pleasure to introduce OLOF Olsson with a few words. As an artist, OLOF Olsson makes spoken performance such as lectures, speeches, comedy, talk shows, and question and answer sessions. In his youth, OLOF made experiments in journalism, photography, and as a radio DJ. Having studied languages, philosophy, and translation theory, OLOF finally ended in art school, and after 15 years of attempting efforts in conceptual art, he started performing in 2007, and it is with a performance from OLOF that we will end today. Please welcome him. Thank you.
Goedenavond, Amsterdam. Can you hear me? Yes, also in the back. Thank you very much. Now, could I ask those of you who have a birthday this week to raise your hand? Birthday this week. Okay, could you please come on stage, please? Get here on stage as quickly as possible. So that's two people. And people who have birthdays next week, raise your hand, please. I know you're there. No. Yeah, there's one there. There's one there. Please come on stage. Please come on stage. And last week as well. Just get on stage. Get on stage. Okay. So how many people? How many people are those? That 5, right? 6? I can't count. 5. There's one more coming? No? Okay. You're coming? Okay. So, you can take a seat there. You can take a seat over there. We'll need you later. And you can take a seat over there. No. Just one. Excellent. Now, I'd been promised that they would clear the stage, and if nothing happened. What's your name? Asif. Would you please stand here? What's your name? Joseph. Would you please stand here? What's your name?
Dawson.
Dawson, would you like to stand here, please? What's your name? Anik. Anik, alsjeblieft hier. And would you like to stand up there on the side? Yeah. Now, it's their birthday. Maybe it was their birthday. Their birthday is soon. Would you please give them a big round of applause? Not only because it's their birthday, which is a terrible thing, and you need encouragement to go through it, but also because they're going to provide invaluable assistance. Now, I was thinking about things I could say in relation to this excellent afternoon we're having here, addressing the subject of land in many manners. And I could also think of a great many manners, modes, ways of addressing the subject of land. And there's, of course, not only space in this world, but also time. And there's not enough of it. So I need your help, every one of you. So what's going to happen here is that I have 12 themes related to the subject of land, but I only have 30 minutes. So we're going to narrow those 12 themes down to three 3 themes. So these wonderful people here, they're going to hold the names of the subjects that one could, that is I, unfortunately, could address in relation to land. And every time we've got 4 subjects here in front of the subjects, so to say, people, you have to choose one of them. And I'm going to lead you through this exercise in democracy, and it's all going to be fine. Okay? Well, and when I say okay, you know, it's just like in elementary school, you're going to say okay. Okay? Okay. Okay. How my Dutch mother and Swedish father met in Mallorca. When children became children, a history of the playground. Between national romanticism and Körperkultur, a history of the summer house. And you can just sit down now. We'll need you later. And the Japanese tea ceremony and Immanuel Kant's critiques. Now, how many are voting for how my Dutch mother and Swedish father met in Mallorca? Hands up, please. Okay, quite a few hands. Now, how many of you would like to hear about When Children Became Children, a history of the playground? Raise your hand. A bit fewer. Okay, how many, there's a W missing here, I'm very sorry. So it's not Bettine, I don't know what Bettine would be. It's between. You know, it's too big for you to see, you know, that's, but now with the perspective I can see between. I think most of them are, I did check. Most of them should be okay. I've made them myself, to the best of my ability. Between national romanticism and Körperkultur, a history of the summer house. How many would like a history of summer house? Not many. Okay. And finally, how many of you would like the Japanese tea ceremony and Immanuel Kant's critiques? Raise your hand now. Okay, it's in between how my Dutch mother and Swedish father met Mallorca and the Japanese tea ceremony. A bit undecided there. Please take those down. Just throw them on the floor. Okay, how many are voting for how my Dutch mother and Swedish father met in Mallorca? Raise your hand now. Okay. How many of you are voting for the Japanese tea ceremony and the Immanuel Kant's critique? Raise your hand now. Okay, I have to think about it. I couldn't. Okay. We'll move on. I'm trying to relate locally here, right? So next one is how a Dutch community of Zealand settlers taught the Danes to grow potatoes. We've got raving in the 1800s, the birth of polka to the rhythms of agrarian technology. Real and imaginary creatures in real and imaginary domains. They're going sort of, I must have been very happy when I did these. They're going up. Real and imaginary creatures in real and imaginary domains. And we've got Hello Universe, Hallo Universum. The golden record on the Voyager 1 and 2. You're not supposed to show it to me, to them. Hello Universe, the golden record on the Voyager 1 and 2 space explorers. Now, how many are voting for Hello Universe, the golden record on the Voyager 1 and 2 space explorer? Raise your hand now. Thank you. How many are voting for real and imaginary creatures in real and imaginary domains? Raise your hand now. A bit more, I say. Yeah. How many of you are voting for raving in the 1800s, the birth of polka to the rhythms of agrarian technology? Fewer. I thought that would be a great, like, I thought that would be like, you know, a certain hit. Intense waving there, yeah. But it's democratic, so, you know, not even curators get 2 votes. Okay, how many like to have how a Dutch community of Zealand settlers taught the Danes to grow potatoes? Not much potato excitement. I'm sorry. Okay, the winner. What was it in there? Oh, the imaginary creatures, right? In imaginary. So we can put this aside. And the mother and Kant and the tea ceremony. We need to put aside. And where's my Dutch mother? Here, yeah. So those are a bit undecided. Where's the pile? That's here. Oh, you're keeping track of it. Okay. Another Dutch theme. The metaphor of space in Dutch heads. From Mondrian to totaal football. The anatomy of the national anthem. The 1960s war of the airwaves, pirate radio against national public service radio. And finally, we've got the page as stage. I'm very happy with this title. The page as stage and the writer as performer. An introduction to Robert Walser. Now, how many of you vote for the metaphor of space in Dutch heads from Mondrian to totaal football? Quite a few. How many of you are voting for the anatomy of the national anthem? Fewer. How many of you are voting for the 1960s war of the airways, pirate radio against national public service radio? Oh, more than but first is still a winner. And finally, the wonderful title, The Page as Stage and the Writer as Performer, and the introduction to Robert Walser. I'd say number one. Has there been voting here as well? Okay. So we've got that one. And you will remain seated. You can return to your seats. Give them a big round of applause. Thank you. And we've got it almost sorted out now. And of course, time is essential. And let's say, how many minutes did we use on the democracy section? 10. We've used 10 minutes. Okay, so we've got 20 minutes. Now, can you hear it? Yeah, very good. Has any one of you a clock or a smartphone with a clock? A clock or a smartphone with a clock? You got a phone with a clock. Very good. Now, when this is ringing, I might be in the middle of something, and then I've got 2 minutes more to wrap it up. Okay? So it's 20 plus 2. It's like football. We've got the football theme, and then we had the first thing, and that was how my Dutch mother and the tea ceremony and Kant's critiques. Well, let's stick to the local theme. Let's stick to the local theme. And I can see that the sound recorder here is unhappy. I don't know what's happened. I have to do something about it. The key is locked. It's happy again. Documentation is, of course, essential. And I need some water, and then we can get started. There is some water. Could we have some more water? Thanks a lot. And I have to get rid of these. So I can see what I'm talking about. Let's see here. It's the metaphor of space in Dutch head. That's real imaginary creatures in real imaginary domains. How my much Dutch mother and Swedish father met in Mallorca. Thank you. There's a globe here. It was here yesterday as well. Is Gabriëlle here? Yes, you're here. Is it always on stage? Yeah, it's always on stage. It's always on stage. The globe is always on stage. Have you seen this globe on stage, like also on the back? It's a globe. It's one of those globes of like our globe, the world, and it's a political map. So various countries, and various countries have various colors, and there are 5 different colors because mathematically one only needs 5. It's completely unhappy here. I think we just have to turn it off. And it's very confusing with this noise. Okay. Take it away. It's beeping. Take it away. Take it out of the room. Take it out of the room. You're recording there, I'm sure. Yeah. Okay. But now the sound got a little bit. You can still hear me. Okay. The globe disappeared. No, it's here. It's a political map, and you only need 5 different colors for the colors not to be beside each other. Someone has proven this mathematically, and it's the same mathematical problem as the mathematical problem of the bridges in Königsberg, and it's where Kant lived, and this has nothing to do with what we're speaking about. But still, it's so small. There must be something symbolic about it being so small. And of course, the word echo here, the word echo, and it's of course a new word, ecosophical. I think it's a new word, just like Bettine is a new word. But sophical is a bit hidden. So echo, and then of course you look at the very small globe, and the plants, the Marcel Brother's plants are big. The globe is small. It makes you think. It makes me think. We have to take care of this little globe, I think. And of course, you here in the Netherlands, you especially know that one has to take care of the globe, because there's this permanent threat in the Netherlands of the whole country being overflooded by water, and it's been a part of the Dutch consciousness that the flood can come, and sometimes the flood comes. So there's a metaphor of space in Dutch head, which is different from the metaphor in space in other heads, and somehow this creeped in to Dutch football, and somehow this creeped in to Piet Mondrian, the painter. And it's my job now to explain how that happened, and I'm not doing very well. And by saying I'm not doing very well, I'm sort of losing my confidence, and you're losing your confidence in my confidence, and things are sort of going in a downward spiral. It's going in a downward spiral, which has nothing to do with Mondrian, because he did squares. And it has nothing to do with football, because football is a flat field and you can kick the ball up, but you can't kick it down. You can't kick it down into the ground. And there's no wish to kick the ball into the ground, even if you could kick the ball into the ground. Now, when I wrote this sign, I invented a new letter, and I was very happy about this, inventing a new letter. And is there anyone from the typography department here? Is there anyone from the is there a typography department? Graphic design, maybe it's called. Visual communication, maybe, even more modern. What do you, graphic design, okay. In 5 years, it's going to be called visual communication. And you see here, it's the AA, because you love the AA. The AA's in the Netherlands, and I've invented the AA, and maybe someone already invented it. Please tell me, did someone invent the AA? No. So this is my gift to you. It's my gift to you, because I'm a performance artist. You know, I don't need to put AA's into the world. You know, you can take this idea and you can put it in your next font, the AA. And we are so lucky that Mondrian and Total Football both have AA's. So there are 2 AA's in this sign. Yeah. I appreciate that. I appreciate that because, as you know, I'm in a difficult situation. I've gone on a I don't know. But we're losing it, and I mean we're not losing it. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Don't worry. Or they don't. They're shaking their hands. Now, Mondrian, of course, who was related to Gerrit Rietveld, because they were both in. It's just a name. It's Piet Mondrian, Gerrit Rietveld. You know, it's names, and they were related because they were in the style movement, which was like, you know, the more we think about it, the more radical it was. You know, it survived the steel bath of deconstruction and postmodernism, and it's still here for us to think about because it was so radical. And the thing is that what strikes me being in the Netherlands is that everyone has at least 2 or 3 names. You know, everyone has a pet name. Isn't this true? You know, yeah, everyone has a pet name. And for a foreigner, it's often very, very hard to relate the pet name to the original name. It's not necessarily just, you know, a shorter version. It can be something like very, very different. And I wonder if this flexibility with names in the Netherlands has anything to do with flexibility of space in the Netherlands. Because when there's so little space in the Netherlands, of course, you need to be more flexible with space. And you also need to be more flexible in what could be space. So there has been this very, very imaginary use of space that wasn't space, like getting more space, you know, moving out into the North Sea, creating more space for the Dutch. Now, I have a Dutch mother, as it says there, but I have a Swedish father. And I grew up in Sweden. So I know the Netherlands and I know Sweden, and Sweden is like a very, very big place. It's a very, very big place. You can actually go out for a walk, and you can walk for a whole day, and you might not meet anyone. This is impossible here. This is impossible here, where it takes 40 minutes to go in between, you know, the 2 biggest cities, which is silly. It's silly, but I mean, when that is said, you know, we don't have to talk more about that. Then what do you think? Is there a relation between the flexibility of names and the flexibility of space? Yes or no? No. No. But what is this flexibility of names about? What's going on there? Okay, we don't know. Okay. Let's get to the subject. Now, but it was related to the names. Because when Piet Mondrian was 47, he moved to Paris. He was 47, you know. That is very, very old. But it was not until he was 47 he made his like big breakthrough. And that was, you know, this is, for someone like me, who's 47, that's a very comforting thought. That's a very comforting thought. And, you know, I should maybe move to Paris, and maybe I can make a big breakthrough as a performance, you know, as an oral performance artist in Paris, where no one will understand me because I don't speak French. But Mondrian, he was 47, he moved to Paris, and that was what we know now as the classical Mondrian style was created in the beginning of the 20s. And the first thing Mondrian did when he came to Paris was that he dropped the A. He dropped the A of his second name. So I thought here, since we're in the Netherlands, I thought it would be like a nice thing to use the original name. But is this nice? Am I being nice or am I being backward? What is the proper way to spell Mondrian for you? Do you know who this artist is? Okay, hands up for 1A. Now, 2 hands. Hands up for 2 A's. Double A. Okay, I've done something right. I've done one thing right. I've done a double A right. Okay. Now, when Mondrian came to Paris, he didn't have very much money because he hadn't made his breakthrough. And he lived like in sort of a dumpy place. He lived in a dumpy place. And it was not completely aesthetically satisfying for Mondrian to live in this dumpy place. And I think you, as art students, you know the experience of having a very, very sharp aesthetic sense, but not enough money to live by it. Are you following? Yes, yes. I graduated from art school 20 years ago, and I'm still experiencing this situation every day. And it was the same for Mondrian, but he got an idea. Like everything that looked bad in his apartment, he took a paper, a colored paper. I don't know if he colored it himself, or if he bought it ready-made. He took a colored paper and he covered that unpleasing aesthetic element with the colored paper. And through this process, there was a sort of dance with colored papers around in the room, which Mondrian meditated over. And that then turned into the kind of painting that Mondrian would work with for the next 20 years of his life, and which has made such a great impact into not only fine arts, but popular culture. Now, in 1947, a boy was born in Amsterdam by the name Johan Cruyff. And he was born speaking a very, very heavy Amsterdam accent. Now, he wasn't born speaking, but he grew up speaking a very heavy Amsterdam accent. And he would always stick to this heavy Amsterdam accent. Even the last season he played, when he played for Feyenoord, he would still speak with the heavy Amsterdam accent. And Johan, he was a very, very talented boy in football. And he was also a very, very ambitious football player. So wherever the ball was, Johan liked to be. He must have had unlimited energy. Wherever the ball was, he wanted to be. So he was running after the ball the whole time, and he was doing things with the ball, and he was scoring goals with the ball. And this was then how total football emerged in the Netherlands. But there had been, we have to give credit to this, there had been ideas earlier in football about such a system of football. There had been such ideas, for instance, in Hungary. But it was really because of Johan Cruyff, who was such a fabulous, one could say, godly inspired, but we're not going to say godly inspired in a contemporary institution like this, a heavenly inspired football player like Johan Cruyff that really put it out into this world. So what they figured out was that instead of the other football players just, standing looking stupid, because, some of you know something about football. Dutch people know things about football. This is a generalization which is politically not correct, but still. If you know something about football, people play different positions. There's a goalkeeper, he's in the goal the whole time. And in the same time, there are defenders and attackers, and there are people in the midfield. But since Johan wanted to run around everywhere, they developed a system of flexibility, a flexible thinking of space, a creation of space by educating all the players in being able to handle all the positions. And it was a very fluid way of thinking football, and it worked very, very well. It worked very, very well for Dutch football for a very long time. And it worked very, very, very well for Johan Cruyff when he became the trainer for Ajax, and it worked very, very well for Johan Cruyff when he became the trainer for Barcelona, and thus it also worked well for those teams. Now, we've got 2 minutes left. So, the metaphor of space, no, that's already, that's done. Real and imaginary creatures in real and imaginary domains. That's unfair. That's unfair. Okay, give me 2 minutes. And, okay, give me 1 minute and I take that. Okay. And then I have 1 minute for that. Now, when I grew up, it took a really, really long time for me to realize that the seahorse is not a fictional animal, that it's actually a real animal. You know, because it looks so strange. It looks so strange. And then even when I realized that it was a real animal, I had no idea. I had no idea that, you know, how big it was. And how it, you know, managed to exist in this world, because it looks completely flat. It looks completely flat. And I think it's the horse. What is seahorse called in Dutch? Zeepvaart, yeah. Nee? What? It's correct, no? Zeepvaart? Paard. Okay, zeepvaart, paard. Okay, because I'm mixing it up with German, where it's called Seepferdchen. Now, if I had been German, you know, the diminutive form would have informed me that this would have been a very small animal. But I mean, I have to confess, it's only 2 years ago that I realized that the seahorse is not a mythological animal, that it is actually an animal in the world. It's the slowest fish, or rather, it's not a fish, but it's the slowest swimmer. It's the slowest swimmer in the world. Like the dwarf seahorse swims, it takes an hour to swim 1.5 meters. An hour. You know, so if you think this is boring, an hour, 1.5 meters. You know, so this performance, it was this dwarf seahorse was swimming this long. This long. That was more than a minute. Now, my Dutch mother from Rotterdam, from Overschie, and my Swedish father from Helsingborg in Sweden, they met in Mallorca. They met in Mallorca in the 60s when it was starting to get cheap to go there. And of course, they shouldn't have gone there because Mallorca is a part of Spain, and Spain was ruled by dictator General Franco. So it's only through this act of political uncorrectness that I'm standing here talking to you today. My parents were politically incorrect, and of course, just like Adam and Eve, you know, did a bad thing, then, you know, somehow this stays in the blood, and I have to deal with it sometimes. Now, I had a conversation outside here, and people said, "Are you from Lithuania? You look Lithuanian." And I had to explain that, no, my mother is from the Netherlands, and my father is Swedish, and obviously, through that combination, you end up looking Lithuanian. Which I'm very proud. I mean, I'm happy I look Lithuanian because Lithuania has one of the most sophisticated contemporary art scenes in the world. They're doing fantastic things, and they're thinking fantastic things, and they're putting all the curating and everything is like, you know, go to Lithuania, you know, and take a school trip to Lithuania. That's what I say. And I'm going to finish now. Two things. Actually, from two conversations this afternoon. And how did they meet? Because my mother was a very, very shy. She was a very, very shy woman. You know, she was a very, very shy woman. She was in the beginning of her 30s. She'd never had a boyfriend. You know, she never had a boyfriend. And I think my father, he was so insensitive that he didn't even realize that she was shy. On the other hand, when he then made his move, when he moved in, someone pointed this out to me, and I think this is correct, and now I understand it better. She said, there's someone, you know, I was having coffee with here in the canteen, in your wonderful canteen, with a very, very dangerous coffee. Someone said to me, some people are too shy to be able to say no. Some people are too shy to be able to say no. Now, the funny thing is that my father only speaks German. So, and my mother speaks all languages, even German, even Kärnten dialect in German, because she you know, took holidays in the mountains in the 40s. So my parents, when they met, they must have spoken German. It's the only way they could have communicated. They met during the dictatorship of Franco, speaking German. And I need to end this on a more positive note. And I need to end this, I want to end it by saying I'm very, very happy to be invited to be here when I was led into this room yesterday afternoon by Nico, who's a fabulous, fabulous guy, and I met Gabriëlle, who's a fabulous girl, and I saw all of you, and the energy on stage, which was something completely different than I managed to produce here, of course. But and I've been in here in the canteen, you know, trying to read about the history of the playground, which was completely useless. But actually, it was a German doctor born 1755 called Faust who invented the playground. No, I mean, the mood is fantastic, and it's very, you know, it's very, very, very inspiring, and I feel 20 years younger than I normally feel, and it's been great, and thank you to Vivian and Natasha for inviting me to this wonderful event, and thank you to you for your patience. Thank you, it's over.